This year I bought a few plants online. I got them from Gurney's and I've used them before for seeds. They've done really well, so I decided to buy some plants from them this year. So I bought a few raspberry bushes, I bought some blueberry bushes, strawberry plants, and I bought 2 snack apple trees, which I'm very excited about because my yard is too small for trees, but these trees you can plant in pots, which is exciting. Now the only problem with this is that the raspberry plants and the strawberry plants were delivered yesterday. And I live in South Jersey where it is still relatively cold. The nights still get below freezing. We still have some snow on the ground, and it looks like the next few weeks, from what I can see in the weather app, we will get some below freezing temperatures still, even though the weather is getting a little bit nicer. So what I need to do is I need to keep these dormant. So when I got these in the mail yesterday, this is exactly how they looked. They came in these plastic bags. These are called bare root. That means that they're not planted in anything. This is just straw, keeping the roots moist until it got to my house. So either I have to plant these immediately outside, which I can't really do because the ground is still frozen, or I can try and keep them dormant until I can plant them outside. So that's what we're gonna try and do today. If you do order a plant, and it comes like this one. This is also a raspberry bush, but you can see it's got the soil in the bag. So this one, I think I'm gonna try and plant in a pot inside until I can put it outside. That's only because I have the resources. I already have a grow set up in my dining room. If you don't do that, I might suggest using the method that I'm gonna talk about for these plants as well. So there are 2 things that you can do, and actually this is just research that I've done online. I have not tried this yet. We're gonna do an experiment today because I haven't had plants shipped this early. When I ordered them last year, they came and my ground was thawed and I could just plant them outside. But there are 2 methods. So one, you would take the straw out of this bag. You could put newspaper or paper towels and get them wet, not soaking wet, but just damp. And then you would rewrap the roots, put the plastic bag back on, and then you would either put it in the refrigerator or put it in a cold place. So you could put it in a basement if your basement it doesn't get a lot of heat, or what I'm gonna do is you could put it in the garage where it's gonna stay around freezing at night and it's kind of dark in there as well. Method 2 is what's called healing in your plants. And that's actually what I did with the 2 snack apple trees that I got because those came a week or 2 ago. So I had to do that and I'll show you that as well. So for these plants, I'm gonna do the same thing that I did with the apple trees, and that's called healing in, which essentially you take this off, soak the roots to make sure that they're very wet, and then you just put them in soil, make sure that they stay dark and moist, but not in any kind of condition that would let them grow. So you don't want light getting around them. You don't want to keep them so warm that they start to actually grow. So you want to keep them between 32 and 40 degrees, which is about what my garage is at this point. So I'm going to open these up and then we're going to soak them in some water for a few minutes until they're not dry at all anymore. And then we're going to go put them in my garage. So I just want to show you one that I just took out of the plastic bag. I'm going to take all this straw off and just put the straw in the trash can. And then these are the roots. So it's got some good lengthy roots in here. You're just gonna check to make sure that none of them have mold or any kind of weird looking growth on them. These look pretty good. And then you're just gonna soak it. When you soak it, you don't wanna get this part and above in the water because that's going to damage the plant. So you want to just soak the root part and that's it. So we're going to let this sit here for a few minutes and then we'll do all the rest of them like that as well, and then we'll come back. All right, so I also just opened up some strawberries. They came to me like this in a bag. You want to open them up and do the same thing that you're doing with the raspberry bushes. So if you look at this just looks like a mess right now. But if you can see, that's hard to see, but there is a rubber band in there and that's what's keeping them all together. So first you want to cut that off Then you want to separate them out like this. You gotta be really careful with the roots. So here's the bundle. I'm gonna separate all these out, but I just want to show you what this bare root strawberry plant looks like, right? So this is dead, so you want to remove that. But it has the roots just like the raspberry plants. Here is the top of the plant, and then what goes under the ground. So when you put this in the water, you want to make sure you do not cover any of this, because if you cover this part, it's gonna die. So you want to do the same thing with the raspberries. I got all my raspberries hanging out, and you want to do the same thing. Just let the strawberry sit there. And now I'm going to do that with the rest of the strawberries as well. Okay, so I am in my garage currently, as you can see in my corner of pile of junk that we have in the corner. But this is where I'm keeping my 2 apple trees right now, to try and keep them as dormant as possible without getting any new growth. It's cold in here, and during the day you see this light coming from this side. The garage door is usually closed, and I put a tarp over it to make it as dark as possible. So we have our 4 raspberry plants that we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna actually put them in the same pot with these. This dirt is just a bag of raised bed potting soil that I bought at the store. It has no additives, no fertilizers, there's no compost. There's nothing in here because I don't want it to produce any kind of growth in these until I can put them in the ground. Okay, so we're gonna take our plants. We're just gonna dig. If you can see that. This. We're gonna dig a hole deep enough to get all these roots down. All right, that should be deep enough. And you're just gonna stick it in the hole and cover it back up. And then you're gonna press down to make sure. Okay, so I'm gonna do that with the other 3, and then we're gonna water it really well. And I'm gonna put the tarp back on it, and we're gonna leave it out here until it's ready to be planted in the ground. All right, so now I've planted the rest of the raspberry bushes in here. They don't need to look pretty. We're not doing anything with them. Again, this is not a permanent solution. This is just temporary for the next few weeks, hopefully 2 to 3 weeks, until I can get them outside in the garden beds. Now we're going back inside to plant the strawberries. So we're gonna plant all of our strawberry plants and this raspberry bush in here, this big tub in here. I looked in my garage. What I had today was not a lot of options. This is the same soil that we used outside for the raspberry bushes and the apple trees. This is what I could come up with today, and I'm not buying anything new because they're only gonna be here for a couple weeks. So we're gonna do what we can with what we have and hope for the best. So we're gonna start with the raspberry bush. So it looks like it was in a compostable planter. That's what this is. So, I mean, I guess we could remove the whole thing. It's supposed to compost. I have never seen these break down all the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove it, and it's gonna leave us with just the plant. So we've got this, now we have this. So we're gonna make sure we can see some roots at the bottom, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna plant this just until it reaches the base of the plant. So we've got that in there. Now we're gonna do the same thing for all of our strawberry plants. So again, you just want to dig a little hole, plant it just until the base of the plant. You wanna make sure all the roots are covered, but the base of the plant stays above the soil. So we're gonna go ahead and plant all the rest of them in this tub, and we're gonna give it a water, and we'll see how it goes. So this is what I have. I planted all of the strawberry plants and that one raspberry plant in the middle of this pot. I highly do not recommend to do this. If it's a permanent solution, they're way too close together, but it should work for the next 2 to 3 weeks until I can get them outside. And then as far as the light source, I borrowed one of my lights up here that I'm not using for my seed setup, and I moved it using my old Christmas decoration command hook right there and kind of jerry-rigged a light over it. It's not pretty, but it'll work for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Check back in a couple weeks and we're gonna see if this worked. Hopefully it does. But if you thought that information was useful, please give me a like and a follow for more homesteadish tips.